the hell's my makeup brushes?
Are you gonna play with your palette?
Huh?
Play with your palette?
I gotta package orders first. I can. Hola, hola, hola. I need to put my. Hey, let me know if you can hear me because I have my watch on. Does it sound like I'm far from you, or does it sound like I'm close to the watch? Because I have it set up to where the Bluetooth doesn't come on. I can hear you. Sounds clear. Yeah, it says the Bluetooth is not on for the sound. So hopefully that is. I finally charged my watch up. It was in my down here where all my crap is at. And I was like, you know what? I'm going to wear my watch today. Sounds really clear. I have a couple more packages I have to do. If anybody places an order right now, you can get a sticker. I got some bigger stickers in. So if you place an order right now, I'll give you guys a sticker. They're bigger. They're way bigger than the first batch. Hello, Leandra, Martha, Kayla, Jerry. Sounds clear. You got up too early. I was still sleeping and swiped YouTube. Notice it was my alarm. Okay. We're on to our next one. This is going to Star. It's funny because I use my reusable makeup wipes. I use it as coasters too on my desk. Star got an eyeliner and the Arizona Sands palette. I think I only have like 4 of those palettes left. And we recently restocked. So I don't know if I should bring this palette back or just get a whole new one. Let me know what you guys think. Eyeliner, Arizona Sands. Arizona Sands. Eyeliner. That. Yes. Whoops. Sounds really clear. I haven't chewed gum in a while. So I'm on like, this is my favorite gum. This Polar Ice. I don't smack when I chew my gum, but I will pop. I have some, is that dust though? Juice Bella was in the room. She was sleeping.
I know.
You said she was gone.
Oh, I said, it's I just got it.
I think all the colors you get are nice. Dang, how many palettes have we had? Let me look. In this 1 year span. This was our first palette. That was our first palette. We had one. We had the Christmas one. This is our second palette. This was our third one. Third. And then what else did we get? Oh, we got the Arizona, no, the AZ Sunset. I don't know where that one's at. So that was the fourth one. AZ Sunset was our fourth one. Then we got this one. This is our fifth one. And then our newest one is the berries one. So 6 palettes. Oh, Scary Stories, 7 palettes. Right on, Juice. Juice knows. This is the Arizona Sands palette. Yeah, so we had 7 palettes in the span of 1 year. That's pretty damn amazing. And she got an eyeliner. The code is Keshmish. If you guys want to place an order, if you use the code, the eyeliner comes out to $14.96. No, it's hot in here, Juice. You need to get like thinner boxes. These ones are. I thought I got a thinner one. I forget why I got these. Oh, and then we have a contour palette, so that's 8. 8 palettes. These papers are really small. I think I only have I think I only have 4 Arizona Sands palettes left. Too lazy to stamp this. Whoops. Star. What is Star's color? I can't remember what Star likes. Juice said black. Oh, yeah, and Star gets a sticker too. These are way bigger than the other ones. The other ones are probably like that small. Bad habit of using my beading mat for a coaster when I go to town. Oh, and then a friendly reminder, I'll be in Hill River on Friday. On Saturday morning, I'll be in Fort McDowell all day, and then Saturday night, I'll be in Fort McDowell at another event. So make sure to get your orders in, because the smaller products, they go fast. They go fast. Oh, come on, this pin. I don't know about this pin. Why is this pin not working? She is on 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8.
Someone knocking?
I don't know. Go look.
I'm sorry.
Probably. I don't know about these pins. They're brand new too. Is it on your website? I don't remember what we were talking about. What's on the website? Does your thing hold up better?
What?
Your shelf?
Yeah. And um,
I washed my hair today, and it feels clean. It feels healthy. This is my third time using Better Than Roses. Um, the lip scrub is good. Lip scrub is good. I use it when I need to exfoliate my lips. Um, Shampoo and conditioner I've been using. This is my third time using it, and I don't know. Let's look at my hair. This is my hair with no product in there. I feel like I don't know. I feel like my hair kind of feels a little bit thicker, a tad thicker. But it's definitely, yeah, it feels thicker, I would say. It feels thicker. It feels a little bit more fuller. I just got off work. What's new? Nothing. We're just packaging orders. Nothing new. Thank you for your order. I got it. Who was that placed an order? Mm. But yeah, you guys go check out Better Than Roses. I had her magnesium spray and I was using it to help me sleep. And Juice was using it too for like anxiousness. Um, but it broke. It's like in a glass bottle, and Juice dropped it the other day, so it broke. So I'm gonna have to get another one. But if you guys have like joint muscle pain, that's what it's good for. For me, I use it for sleep insomnia and not so much anxiety, but for my son, I have been using it, and he says he feels a difference when he uses it. But we accidentally dropped it the other day, so we're gonna have to get another one.
Let me.
What, Juice?
Let me.
What?
Let I drop it.
Juice dropped it, yeah. I wasn't trying to pin it on you, Juice, but yeah, Juice dropped it. Print. Print for baby girl. Baby girl. Print for baby girl. Hey, Star, I'm gonna go drop your order off later. You should probably get it tomorrow or Wednesday, Star. It's funny because she just lives down the way.
And see that one?
The movies.
Where the
Did you go with me?
where you telling you?
Yeah, she took me to a couple scary movies. She's not even scared, too.
Maybe she's good.
Leandra, thank you. We haven't hung out in a while. Ooh, speaking of Better Than Roses, the owner, Rhonda, placed an order. She got lipstick. Oh, where am I gonna put these up?
You want me to check with your
14 and 11. 14 and 11.
Okay.
Oh. I just ordered and got confirmation. I would love this sticker too. Okay. Thank you. So Rhonda got number 11 and number 14. These two are new lipsticks. You guys want me to swatch the lipsticks for you guys? I swatched it on a TikTok video recently, but I can definitely swatch it for you right now if you guys want. Where's baby girl's pen? We'll use this one. We'll use blue today. Rhonda is the owner of Better Than Roses, the shampoo and conditioner I was just telling you about. I need like little blank cards.
Look.
No, I know how to do it.
Look. Here, look.
No, like these, like the hard ones. Like these ones, Juice. Did you close the window? It's hot. Leave it open, Juice. Baby girl is hot. Ugh. Baby girl is hot. Let me use this. I'm trying to put like little cards in here. See, this is why I don't like wearing my hair down, because I get hair everywhere. Plus, it's hot. It's hot in here. Discount code? I don't have one. Sorry. Where the hell is my little... I have a little microfiber thingamajig. I am almost out 47. I use it daily. That one has been going like hotcakes. Oh, this paper's hard. Maybe I should do just 2 at a time. God, it's hot in here. I don't have a discount code. I'm just a genuine supporter. And I want to see other businesses succeed as well. Especially if I tried like their product and I know firsthand that they're good products. I'm still testing hers out, but so far I like it. Definitely like the magnesium. And I definitely like the lip scrub. She has a lot of other products on her website. She's Navajo owned and veteran owned. She retired from the army. Oh, that one's small. I'm feeling like a crafter right now. See, I think I do have ADHD. I can't even finish packing this. Look at that. Look how sidetracked I got. Did you guys turn your heater on yet? No, it doesn't get cold over here. It gets cold, but not that cold. I used to turn the space heater on, but it's our place is small. It's hot here. It's not super cold. No, we haven't turned it on. We've been like sleeping with the windows open and it gets cold at night. Yeah, it does when we sleep with the window open. Last night I had to I woke up like around 2. I was freaking cold. These guys were all curled up. I didn't even have no blanket on. So I went to the went and took a hot shower, or not a shower, a bath. I was just in there thawing out all early this morning. This place is dusty.
Are you done?
Done with what?
Packaging.
Negative, little one.
I put my mushrooms up there. I put my mushrooms in my tea squishmallows, and I put my mushroom like cyan, and I put my chili.
Does it hold better?
I used to have a so tilt. I am eyes on the TikTok and
I think I'm just gonna go for the plain old. Trying to figure out what to put on these cards. How is the makeup balm? The one on my website? It's good. It takes off your makeup. I feel like it takes it off way better than the micellar water. I think this is out of ink.
Mama, I'm just gonna get my phone from her. I want some stuff.
Is what?
My friend wants some stuff. Yeah. Are you knocking? Nope. I didn't knock. Oh. Dang, Mom, I saw that big light outside. It disappeared. There was like a bunch of helicopters around it too. I'll be fair, it's kind of scary. Like some of my friends pull up. Is that an Apple Watch?
No, that's my own one. It smells alright. County's been on a cologne kick. We've been going everywhere they sell cologne. That's how I sleep. I leave my sliding door open. My friend calls me buckskin. That's funny. I've never heard no one being called that. Buckskin. My ear itches.
Where's my pickup? I'm like, it's $100.
It was just a lie.
But he said joking. Think about because when they
Why does digging in your ear feel so good?
because like every time I come out, I always go to your desk. I'm like, I feel so nice.
Can you go get me the hand sanitizer and where the plates are?
I keep going like this and I take it out. Look, I go like, what hand sanitizer?
Yep. Where the plates are. Any Christmas plans? Stay home.
Sanitizer.
It's where the plates are.
I checked.
It's on top. Man, if I find it up there, Juice. You're so blind, I swear. The plates.
Yeah.
I said where the plates are. Oh. We're turning on the light too. That boy's blind, man, I swear. Wearing glasses. We're hosting a Christmas bingo party at my house. Probably have over 60 guests. Hey, you guys got money, huh? Hey, you guys have money, huh? Menu is shit. Tamales too. I only make tamales during Christmas. Dang. That's a big ass party. I'm also going to my husband's company Christmas party this Saturday. I need a new stamp. I don't like this stamp. Oh, just one of them. Just one of them came out good. That one didn't. 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 Two of them out of how many came out good? Stay home and be all tamalied out. I oh, I hate this stamp. It's a waste of $50. Use your thermal printer. I hate my thermal printer. It doesn't even print dark. I have to print it like 5 or 6 times just for it to come out nice and dark. Every time. Then once it warms up, finally, it's okay. I need to get a new one. And I always have to constantly reset the settings on it too. Which kind of defeats the whole purpose of having one. Like it should be really simple. This one is not. It's supposed to be Bluetooth too, like wireless. I can't get it to be wireless. I always have to plug it in. Hi Elizabeth, have you sold out on any orders? Yeah, this weekend, but we got everything stocked up again. No, not yeah, this weekend in San Carlos I sold out. Sold out on everything, but luckily my shipment came in that same day. So Friday night I came home. I was up till 5 o'clock Saturday morning, putting away everything, doing inventory, crunching numbers, And then I went to sleep for a couple hours, and then I went to another sale that day. Thank you. It feels like it's late because the sun goes down early. Larry, where are you going to be selling next? When's your next sale? I wish Phoenix Indian Medical Center would chill out and just let me go sell over there. Phoenix Indian Medical Center is giving me a hard time just to go sell over there. It's not even that deep, but they're really making it hard for me over here to go sell over there. I don't know why. I'm starting to think the lady involved is either discriminating or has some kind of personal thing with me whom I've never met. But either way, the Indian hospital, they have like markets all the time, especially during the holidays. And I've been wanting to go over there. But the lady, I think she's Navajo. And you know what the funny part is? It's not even a like native owned corporation. Like none of that money goes back into native communities, but yet they profit off of Native Americans. So the lady who is in charge of that event, it's not even that deep. Here, just let me in. But anyways, I've been trying to go over there to go sell, but the lady told me that what did she say? She basically said that if they let me go sell over there, then everybody who, this is a direct quote. Hi, Kitty. I looked at your website and if we let you come over here and sell, then people who sell Avon and Mary Kay are going to want to come sell over here. And we can't, basically, we can't have that. And I was like, what? The hell kind of shit is that? I've had quite a few people reach out to me and give me information on lawyers and telling me to sue. And I'm kind of like, damn, do I have that much time and energy to do that? That's going to be expensive in itself. But the petty side of me kind of wants to, fight for my right. Hey. Okay, now let me finish doing this one. Last chance one in Mesa. Go set up along the road in Burrito Lane. Oh, during the thing? I should, huh? Is she charging a fee as well? I don't know if they charge. So there's this, there's that, and then I gotta give Rhonda a sticker. So this little package is small, so that's why I made these little cards. Because a regular card won't fit in there. These are really tiny. See? So that's why I was cutting up those papers. There's no fee, limited spots. My aunt will be setting up there. So stupid. I've heard a lot of people like complaining though, saying like they always have the same people, they always choose the same people. Like they need to give other businesses and other upcoming businesses a chance. Like I had a lot of people reach out to me, a lot of people that work there as well. And I think it's sad that our own native people are like that. They've let other cosmetic brands sell there, so how come I can't sell there? So for now, I'm boycotting. I don't even go there no more. I don't really go there. I only go there when I absolutely don't want to drive to Gila River. But me and my kids, we go to Gila River. We've been going to Gila River since they were babies, before they were babies. So I'm boycotting them. I'm telling everybody, go to Gila River and go to Salt River to get your health care. I went there last week and looks like people just roll up and put a sign up selling pinions. Shay, I'm gonna go do that. When is their next one anyway? I think it's this weekend, huh? I'll be busy though. It's the principle of the matter. Ooh, this one came out kind of blurry. Like, that's why I hate this printer. It just like, I don't know if it gets cold right away or I don't know what its problem is. It just like picks and chooses. No, that's a better one. When it wants to print good. Look how tiny this is. It's so cute. These little labels and these little mailers, they're all tiny. So I have to shrink them to print it so it can fit on here. This mailer, it's a little smaller than my hand. I have a cool story. I started meeting new people at Delcon Flea Market and then moved to Ganado. Nice. Delcon and Ganado. I know those guys been having some. I always see people posting for Winslow. Is Winslow pretty poppin'? FYI, friendly reminder, I'm gonna be putting the earrings on Bajan Beauty Facebook and Bajan Beauty. I don't know. I don't know if I should put it on Facebook. Definitely gonna put it on Bajan Beauty Instagram. I probably will. I probably will put it to Facebook instead of on the website, just to make it easier. Leandra, your address, put it just like the way you wrote it. I don't want you to get lost. Or do you? In my beadwork, I felt so much love. Winslow does some powwows, and the local library IHS are really good public events. They do another of reach out flyers for local. Yeah, I always see people like posting for the hospital and I don't know, it seems like they're always having events. Leandra, thank you for getting the very grateful palette. What's in here? Here? Okay. I'm gonna remove that one just because it's personal information. I need market vendors for the 14th. Ooh. I can't see it. I'll look at it pretty soon, Sierra. Sierra something just 14th. I'm open the 21st, the 28th, and the 4th. H is for hand carry. Oh. Funny. Oh, okay. Yeah, I was like, that kind of looks weird. I didn't know that. Good to know. Good to know. Hand carry, huh? Mm. I found a makeup palette yesterday that I've been eyeing for like a year, and I finally got it. It was I don't think they carry it anymore, but I found it at TJ Maxx. Okay. Sticker. Mm-hmm. Did anybody say they wanted to see swatches? Or was I... Let's see. Inquiry. Six. Two. I will drop these off pretty soon, so they should go out tomorrow. A long time ago, during first aid training, the EMT had to give me a Google Map code to read for emergency ambulance services. We don't have street names, just directions, and have to meet them on the road. Dang. Don't you love that about the res? Okay, I'm done. I'm done for tonight for that. I'll put you guys over here. Let's see. Well, I will do this. Let's see. Okay, friends. These earrings right here are up for grabs. FYI. I have one more blue one. Then I'll move on to the circle ones. This gum is.
You should switch to white.
This gum is not gumming no more. We had pizza tonight. Did I tell you guys that? Yeah, my dad bought us pizza tonight. Any night I don't have to cook is a good night. I keep saying I'm gonna make beef stew, beef veggie stew, and I haven't even made it yet. The meat's just sitting in the freezer. Get in there. Ow! Poked myself. What if you play that guy who tells scary stories? Ooh, I was just thinking that. I was thinking that in my head, but I was like, dang, they probably don't like it. Yeah, I can do that. Get in there. Where's my plier? What did I do with it? Oh, did you finish your packaging? I did. Yeah, I had like one, two, three, four, five of them for today, which is nice. I like it. I like it. I don't package every orders. I don't package orders every night. Like it's rare that I get an order every day of the week. So when I get an order, I really appreciate it. Does anybody want to listen to some YouTube scary stories? You guys, if you guys are like in between paychecks or whatever your situation is, and you guys are like really wanting to get something right then and there, if you sign up for shop pay, you guys can definitely make like those installment payments. That's an option on my website. I have a lot of people that use it. Especially if you don't want to miss out on something. Ooh, this is coming out pretty. It looks like pear dots. This was my first ever purchase, and I can't wait for it in the mail. It will go out tonight, so hopefully. Oh, wait, not tonight. I'll drop it off tonight, so tomorrow it should go out. Um, and I would say like probably 3 or 4 days for you, because you're not that far. Ugh. Let me do this last one right here, and then I'll pull up the. I've been listening to like park ranger ones, where these people who work for like the park experience like something really crazy and they just give up their job. Like it's creepy, it's crazy. I've been listening to those, and I've been listening to like near death experiences, and those are pretty much what I've been listening to lately. Um, Look at that. Let me pull it up.
Power on. Bluetooth pairing. Bluetooth connected.
I kind of want another pizza. Let's see what we have here. Where is it? Oh, where was it? That one. Where is it? I'm gonna have to go on my history. I can't find it. Okay, here we go.
Happy if you did. Button and leave your comments. Your interaction makes the content. In White River National Forest, Colorado. My name is Tanner, but my colleagues jokingly call me Mountain Goat for my ability to traverse rough lands without slipping. I've always liked my job, but that summer changed everything. It began like most others. Campers, hikers, and the occasional group of college kids thinking they could handle the wilderness with nothing but a six-pack and a map. I was already exhausted from a rough week of guiding inexperienced teenagers out of the woods when an emergency call came in on a Thursday afternoon. Two backpackers, Tyler and Marcus, were reported missing. They hadn't returned to their car at the trailhead after 3 days, with no communication. Not unusual. People go missing all the time, usually turning up sunburned, dehydrated, and embarrassed. But this time, the report mentioned strange animal sounds in the area. That's why they wanted someone with experience. I was paired with Lucas, a junior ranger on his second month. Lucas had the cocky swagger of someone who thought the worst thing in the woods was a bear. Good kid, but naive. As we prepared our gear, I couldn't shake an uneasy feeling. Something about this call felt different. The mention of strange animal sounds nagged at me. In my years as a ranger, I'd heard all sorts of wildlife, but the dispatcher's tone hinted at something out of the ordinary. You ready for this, Mountain Goat? Lucas grinned, shouldering his pack. I nodded, double-checking my emergency kit. Remember, kid, the forest doesn't care how prepared you think you are. Stay alert. As we set out, the sun was already dipping below the tree line, casting long shadows across the trail. The forest seemed to close in around us, the familiar weight of the wilderness settling on our shoulders. But there was something else too, a tension in the air that I couldn't quite place. The trail we took wasn't difficult, well-worn and popular with backpackers. It led deep into the forest, down toward a riverbed before looping back toward higher ground. I expected to find Tyler and Marcus camping off trail, maybe stuck somewhere or hurt. Our radios crackled with static, typical for remote terrain. The trees, thick with pines, loomed over us, their branches reaching out like gnarled fingers. As dusk approached, the forest took on a different character. Shadows deepened, and familiar sounds became distorted. "You ever get spooked out here, Tanner?" Lucas asked, his earlier bravado fading. I considered my answer carefully. The forest demands respect. It's not about getting spooked. It's about staying aware. As if on cue, a twig snapped somewhere in the darkness beyond our flashlight beams. Lucas jumped, and I felt my own pulse quicken. It was probably just a deer or a raccoon, but in that moment, it felt like something more. We pressed on, the beam of our flashlights carving a path through the increasing darkness. The night sounds of the forest surrounded us, the hoot of an owl, the rustle of small animals in the underbrush. But there was something else too, a sound I couldn't quite identify. It was faint, almost imperceptible, but it sent a chill down my spine. Around midnight, we came across the first real sign of trouble. A torn-up campsite emerged in the glow of our flashlights. The tents were shredded, and there was a cooking pot still half full of burnt beans, tipped over next to the extinguished campfire. There was no sign of Tyler or Marcus. Lucas raised an eyebrow, gesturing to the mess. "Bear?" I shook my head, examining the scene closely. Bears don't just wreck a camp without leaving tracks or digging through food. No claw marks on the trees, no fur left behind. I squatted near the remains of a sleeping bag. The fabric was torn, but not in a way that suggested animal claws. It looked like it had been ripped apart by something with brute strength. Not great. I could feel Lucas tense up beside me. "What do you think did this?" I didn't answer immediately, and that silence was enough to spook him. We kept moving, the shadows between the trees seeming to stretch and warp in the flashlight beams. That's when I heard it. Just the faintest shuffle of leaves, like something moving lightly through the underbrush. Lucas didn't hear it at first, but I did. A rustling that didn't quite fit with the stillness of the forest. I motioned for him to stop. We waited, our breath misting in the cool night air. The sound came again, closer this time. I didn't like it. I drew my knife, not because I thought it'd do much, but because it was better than nothing. Lucas gave me a look, half concerned, half confused, but he didn't ask questions. Smart move. The noise stopped, leaving us in silence once again. But the feeling of being watched, of something out there in the darkness, didn't fade. We followed the riverbank for a while, our flashlights revealing a strip of damp, soft ground, perfect for footprints. There were several human prints heading toward the water. Something else too, something bigger. I crouched down, examining the tracks closely. They were wide, larger than a human foot, but I couldn't make out the exact shape in the dim light. It wasn't any animal I was familiar with, and that realization sent a chill through me. Lucas bent down, running his hand over the tracks. "What the hell is that?" I didn't answer him. Truth was, I didn't know, and that uncertainty was more frightening than any bear or mountain lion. We kept moving, though every step felt heavier, the weight of the situation pressing down on us. The air grew thicker, more oppressive as we pushed through the dense underbrush. I'm not a superstitious guy, but there was something wrong with this part of the forest. It felt alien, like we weren't supposed to be there. I didn't say anything to Lucas, but I could tell by the way he kept glancing around that he felt it too. The forest had gone unnaturally quiet, the usual nighttime sounds absent. It was as if the whole area was holding its breath, waiting for something to happen. As we
Listen, you want to skip this ad. I would too. But what if I told you there's a skip ads for everybody? It's called Pi, and if that sounds familiar to you, it's probably because you've seen their ads everywhere. It's an ad blocker that works on Twitch, YouTube, Amazon, and everywhere else you go on Chrome. And if that seems too good to be true, it's not. Over 500,000 people have downloaded it in just the past few months. It's available for free on the Chrome store right now, yet you're still watching this ad like an absolute doofus. If you opt in, Pi will actually pay you money to see ads. Crazy, right? Good luck finding another ad blocker out there that does that. But don't take my word for it. Trust the hundreds and hundreds of 5-star reviews. So what are you doing? Get Pi right now and say goodbye to ads forever.
Save more when you get Cox Internet and one unlimited Cox mobile line for just $80 a month. All with Wi-Fi equipment included and no annual contract. So go all in and save. Learn more at cox.com/value.
Sorry, guys. I went to go warm up my pizza.
We ventured deeper. The tracks became more
Me, all fat ass, can't wait. Takes a bite and then puts it inside the microwave.
frequent. Whatever had made them was moving with purpose, following the same path we were. I tried to rationalize it, maybe a large bear or even a moose. But deep down I knew it was something else entirely. The beam of my flashlight caught something reflective up ahead. As we approached, my stomach dropped. It was a backpack, torn and muddy, its contents strewn across the forest floor. Next to it lay a broken camera, its lens cracked and useless. Lucas picked up a torn piece of paper, a map of the area. "You think it's theirs?" he asked, his voice barely above a whisper. I nodded grimly. "Has to be. We're on the right track, but..." I didn't finish the sentence. We both knew what it meant. Whatever had happened to Tyler and Marcus, it wasn't good. As if to confirm our worst fears, a sound echoed through the trees. It wasn't quite a growl, not quite a roar. It was something in between, something that didn't belong in these woods. Something that made every instinct in my body scream to run, but we couldn't. We had a job to do, and 2 hikers to find. Even if every step forward felt like we were walking into a trap, it wasn't long before we found the bodies. Tyler and Marcus, or what was left of them, were sprawled near a clearing. They were torn apart, and I mean that literally. Their limbs were scattered, ripped from their torsos, and their faces were almost unrecognizable. I've seen animal attacks before. I've seen the aftermath of a bear or a mountain lion going to town on a person. But this wasn't like that. This was savage, but not in the way a wild animal kills to eat. This was intentional, almost methodical. Lucas turned pale, and for a second, I thought he might vomit. He muttered something under his breath about leaving, but I ignored him. My focus was on something else, on the tracks leading away from the bodies. Whatever did this had walked away on 2 legs. I took out my radio to call it in, but there was only static. Of course, because why would anything work when you need it the most? "We have to go," I told Lucas, my voice sounding strained even to my own ears. "We need to report this and get a team out here." That's when we heard it. Something moving through the trees, slow, deliberate, and coming closer. It was the same sound I'd heard earlier, heavier. Like whatever it was, it didn't care if we knew it was there. Lucas started backing up, and for the first time I saw real fear in his eyes. Not the kind of fear you get when a bear shows up, but the kind that sinks into your bones because you know you're dealing with something you don't understand. We didn't wait to see what it was. We ran. Now, I've run from bears before. I've had to scramble up rocks to avoid mountain lions. But this was different. It felt like the forest itself was pushing us back, urging us to get the hell out. Every tree looked like it was leaning in, narrowing the path, making it harder to escape. Lucas stumbled over a root, nearly face-planting into the dirt. I grabbed him by the arm and yanked him back up, but I could hear it now, something breathing. Heavy, slow breaths, like they were deliberate, calculated. It wasn't chasing us, but it wasn't far behind either. I risked a glance over my shoulder, and that's when I saw it. I don't even know how to describe the thing. It was tall, easily over 7 feet, maybe more. Its skin was pale, stretched over muscle and bone in a way that didn't seem right. I couldn't see a face clearly, just a vague shape. But the way it moved, slow and deliberate, wasn't like any animal I'd ever seen. It had the stance of a man, but the movements of something predatory, like it was stalking us. Lucas saw it too, and that was all it took for him to start panicking. He let out a shout, a panicked yell that echoed through the trees. Big mistake. The thing stopped, its head snapping toward us, and then it moved. Fast. Lucas ran, screaming something about getting out, about dying here, but I barely heard him. My adrenaline kicked in, my focus narrowed. I didn't look back again, didn't want to. All I could do was run, 1 foot in front of the other, hoping like hell that whatever was behind us wouldn't catch up. The path ahead split, and without thinking, I grabbed Lucas by the arm and pulled him down the left trail. It led deeper into the forest, toward the cliffs near the river. I could hear the thing behind us, crashing through the like it didn't care who or what was in its way. It was getting closer. I could feel it. Then I saw the cliff's edge ahead of us, and I knew we were out of options. Lucas was panting hard, stumbling beside me, his eyes wild with fear. I didn't stop. I didn't give him a chance to think. I pushed him toward the cliff. We slid down the rocky slope, dirt and gravel tearing at my hands and knees. I heard Lucas hit the bottom with a grunt, but I didn't check to see if he was okay. I just scrambled to my feet, pulling him up as the thing came to a halt at the top of the cliff, staring down at us. Move. For a moment, I thought we were safe, that maybe it wouldn't follow us down the steep incline. But then, with slow, deliberate movements, it began climbing down, its long arms reaching for the rocks like it had done this 100 times before. Lucas was shaking, his breath coming in short gasps. He wanted to run, I could see it in his eyes, but I grabbed his arm, forcing him to stay still. If we ran now, we wouldn't make it. The thing reached the bottom of the cliff, its eyes, or whatever passed for eyes, locking onto us. It didn't roar or growl, didn't make any sound at all. It just moved toward us, slow, methodical, like it knew we had nowhere left to go. I don't know what came over me, maybe adrenaline, maybe desperation, but I pulled the flare gun from my pack. I only had one shot, but it was better than nothing. Lucas was too scared to do anything but stare as I raised the flare gun, aiming at the thing's chest. I pulled the trigger. The flare shot out, bright and burning, hitting the creature square in the chest. For a second, it staggered back, its body jerking as if in surprise. Then it let out a sound, a deep, guttural noise that vibrated through my bones. It wasn't a sound of pain, but of anger. The thing didn't die. It didn't even fall. But it stopped. It looked at me, then at Lucas, and then, without warning, it turned and walked back into the trees. I don't know why it left us. Maybe the flare hurt it. Maybe it didn't see us as worth the effort. But whatever the reason, it was gone, disappearing into the forest as silently as it had appeared. We didn't stick around to find out why.
We pretty much take it all. Fridges and dishwashers, dressers, drawers, couches, mats.
When we finally made it back to the trailhead, I called it in. Tyler and Marcus were dead, that much was clear. As for what killed them, I didn't have an explanation. I filed the report, described the bodies, but I didn't mention the thing we saw. The official investigation concluded it was a bear attack. The Forest Service increased patrols, put up more warning signs about wild.
Just think how many people in these forests get unaligned by bears, and that, because I've been listening to these stories, and the own park rangers themselves say that they know they're not bears, but they have to put it like that because, like, for the family's sake and for, like, the public's sake, like, they don't want people to panic and stuff. So just think, like, how much is just, like, hidden. It's crazy.
Life. But I knew the truth. Whatever killed those men wasn't any bear I'd ever seen. Lucas quit shortly after. Can't say I blame him. He was young, had his whole life ahead of him. No need to stick around in a job that showed him the darker side of nature. As for me, I'm still here, still working the same trails. But I stay away from that part of the forest now. Some places you just don't go, and whatever that thing was, it's still out there. In the weeks that followed, I threw myself into research.
It's over there.
I pored over old legends, spoke to local tribal elders, trying to find any mention of something that matched what we saw. Most of what I found was just campfire stories, tales to scare kids into staying close to home. But there was one story that stuck with me, an old Ute legend about a spirit that protected the forest. It was said to punish those who disrespected the land, who took more than they needed. The description was vague, but it mentioned a tall, pale figure that moved silently through the trees. I'm not saying that's what we saw. I'm a man of science, after all. But after what happened that night, I'm not so quick to dismiss the old stories anymore. Months passed, and life in the forest returned to normal, or as normal as it could be when you've seen something you can't explain. I kept my head down, did my job, tried to forget. But then the reports started coming in again. Hikers going missing, strange sounds in the night, torn up campsites with no signs of animal involvement. I knew I had to go back, had to face whatever was out there. This time I went alone. Couldn't risk anyone else's life. Not after what happened to Lucas. The trail seemed different now, darker somehow. Every shadow held a potential threat. Every rustle in the undergrowth made my heart race. But I pressed on, driven by a need to understand, to confront the thing that had haunted my nightmares for months. As night fell, I reached the clearing where we'd found the bodies. It was
Quit
quiet,
closing
too
it,
quiet.
Juice.
No birds, no insects. Just the
Get
sound
under
of
the
my own
blanket.
breathing and the crunch of leaves under my boots. Then I saw it. Standing at the edge of the clearing, its pale form almost glowing in the moonlight. It was exactly as I remembered. Tall, inhuman, with limbs that were just a bit too long. For a long moment, we just stared at each other. I could feel its gaze boring into me, searching for something. Then slowly it raised one long arm and pointed deeper into the forest. I don't know why, but I followed. It led me through the trees, moving with that same eerie grace I remembered. We walked for what felt like hours, until we reached a part of the forest I'd never seen before. The trees here were ancient, their trunks wider than any I'd ever seen. The ground was carpeted with moss so thick it muffled my footsteps. And there, in the center of it all, in the center was an ancient gnarled tree. Its bark was carved with intricate symbols, similar to those I'd seen in the abandoned cabin. The creature gestured toward the tree. As I approached, I felt a strange connection, like the forest was trying to communicate. The symbols began to glow faintly, and I understood. This was the heart of the forest, and the creature was its guardian. I realized the attacks weren't random. They were a defense against those who threatened the forest's balance. The guardian wasn't evil, just protective. I faced a decision: reveal the truth and risk exploitation of the forest, or keep the secret and become its protector alongside the guardian. I chose to protect. Over time, I learned to communicate with the guardian and the forest itself. We worked together to maintain balance, steering people away from sacred areas and educating visitors about respecting nature. Years passed. The forest thrived under our care. Sightings of the guardian became rare, more legend than threat. As I near retirement, I prepare to pass on my role. The forest has chosen its next protector. The cycle continues, the ancient pact between humans and nature preserved for another generation.
That story sounds like full of
The first
shit.
time I saw the thing, I was just finishing up at the old lumber mill on the outskirts of Boone, North Carolina. Yeah, Boone, the place where everyone's got a story.
Sounds like a non-native. Of course he went to the elders. Of course they said it was a protector of the forest. Of course he sees it. Of course it helps him. And they start working together. Uh-huh. Hey. Could be, but I don't know. It sounds like some bullshit to me. Anyways, let's listen to the next one.
And none of them are good. Anyway, I'm Richard Monroe, and this happened back in 2005. I was 32 at the time, the kind of guy who kept to himself, did his work, and went home. No family to speak of, and my friends were just folks I saw around town now and then. I liked the quiet life, or so I thought. That day, I wrapped up work around 6 in the evening. The sky was still bright, but you could feel the day starting to wind down. I was walking home, cutting through the woods like I always did to shave off a few minutes. I didn't mind the woods. They were peaceful, calming even. But that evening was different. The birds were quiet, too quiet. The kind of silence that makes your skin prickle. As I made my way down the path, I saw something out of the corner of my eye. At first, I thought it was a deer, big, hunched over, moving between the trees. But it wasn't a deer. It moved too fluidly, almost like it was gliding. I stopped dead in my tracks, trying to get a better look. The leaves beneath my feet crunched softly. the sound seeming to echo in the unnatural silence. My breath caught in my throat as I strained my eyes, trying to make sense of what I was seeing. I'm not one for fancy words, but this thing, whatever it was, didn't belong. It was tall, covered in a dark matted fur, and its arms were way too long, almost dragging on the ground. It was about 50 yards away, but I could see it well enough to know it wasn't something natural. My heart was pounding in my chest, but I didn't move. I couldn't. The thing stopped, turned its head towards me. It had eyes, but I couldn't see them clearly. There was something off about its face, like it wasn't fully formed. It just stared at me for what felt like an eternity. Then, it let out this noise. Not a growl, but a low, vibrating sound that seemed to shake the very air around.
I don't ever have to worry about running out of contact lenses. Because with the 1-800-CONTACTS app, ordering online
Around me. I bolted. I don't think I've ever run that fast in my life. The path blurred under my feet and my breath came in ragged gasps. Branches whipped at my face as I tore through the underbrush, not caring about the scratches they left behind. The sound of my own heartbeat thundered in my ears, drowning out everything else. I didn't stop until I burst out of the woods and into the back parking lot of the diner where my buddy Frank worked. The sudden transition from the dim forest to the harsh glare of the parking lot lights disoriented me for a moment. I stumbled, nearly falling to my knees as I gasped for air. Frank must have seen me through the window because he came rushing out, his face a mask of concern. "Rich, what the hell happened to you?" he asked, eyes wide as he took in my disheveled appearance. I tried to catch my breath, tried to explain, but the words wouldn't come. All I could manage was a choked, "Something in the woods." Frank led me inside, sat me down at the counter, and got me a glass of water. He waited patiently while I pulled myself together, his worried gaze never leaving my face. The diner was mostly empty, just a couple of regulars nursing cups of coffee in the corner booths. They glanced over curiously but didn't approach. When I finally caught my breath and my hands stopped shaking enough to hold the glass steady, I told Frank everything. I described the creature in as much detail as I could remember, my voice low and urgent. Frank listened without interrupting, his face growing more serious by the minute. "That's some messed up shit, Rich," he said when I finished. He ran a hand through his graying hair, his brow furrowed in thought. "You think it was a bear?" I shook my head vehemently. "No way. Bears don't move like that, and that noise, it wasn't a bear, it was something else." Frank was quiet for a moment, then nodded. "All right, let's go back and check it out." I wanted to argue, to tell him he was crazy, but Frank had this way of making you feel like everything would be okay as long as he was around. So against my better judgment, I agreed. We armed ourselves with a couple of flashlights and Frank's old hunting rifle. I wasn't sure what good it would do against whatever that thing was, but it made me feel a bit better. As we headed back towards the woods, I couldn't shake the feeling that we were making a terrible mistake. The woods were darker now, shadows stretching long and deep. The silence was even more oppressive than before, broken only by the crunch of our footsteps on the leaf-strewn ground. We moved slowly, the beams of our flashlights cutting through the gloom, illuminating twisted tree trunks and gnarled roots that seemed to reach out like grasping fingers. I kept expecting to see those eyes again, feel that vibration in the air. Every rustle of leaves, every snap of a twig under our feet, sent a jolt of adrenaline through my system. My palms were sweaty on the flashlight, and I could feel my heart racing in my chest. We reached the spot where I'd seen the creature, but there was nothing. No tracks, no signs of anything unusual. Just a normal forest floor, leaves and twigs crunching under our boots. The trees loomed over us, their branches forming a canopy that seemed to block out what little light was left in the sky. "Maybe it's gone," Frank said, but he didn't sound convinced. His voice was tight, strained, and I could tell he was feeling the same unease that was crawling up my spine. We stood there for a while, listening, waiting. The silence pressed in on us, broken only by our shallow breathing. And then we heard it. That same low vibrating sound. It was close, too close. We swung our flashlights around, trying to pinpoint the source. The beams cut through the darkness, casting long shadows that seemed to move and shift. The sound grew louder, seeming to come from all around us. It vibrated through the air, through the ground, making my teeth ache and my bones shudder. And then, suddenly, it stopped. For a moment, there was nothing but silence. Then a twig snapped somewhere to our left. We both whirled towards the sound, Frank raising the rifle to his shoulder. The beam of my flashlight caught a glimpse of movement, and then it was on us. The thing came out of the darkness, moving faster than anything that size should be able to. It was a blur of matted fur and long, grasping limbs. Frank fired, the sound of the rifle deafening in the stillness. The muzzle flash lit up the night for a split second, revealing the creature in all its horrifying glory. Its face was a twisted mass of flesh, with no discernible features except for two glowing yellow eyes. The shot went wide, and the creature was on him in an instant. It knocked Frank to the ground, and I heard him scream, a sound that still haunts me to this day. It was a scream of pure terror and pain, cut short as the creature's massive form bore down on him. I don't remember much of what happened next. Everything was a blur of movement and terror. I grabbed a fallen branch, the bark rough against my palms, and swung it at the creature, trying to drive it away from Frank. The branch connected with a solid thud, and the creature let out a high-pitched shriek that made my ears ring. It turned on me, and I saw its face up close, a twisted, horrible visage, like something out of a nightmare. Its yellow eyes fixed on me, and I felt a wave of terror wash over me. This wasn't just an animal. There was an intelligence in those eyes, a malevolence that chilled me to my core. I swung the branch again, more out of desperation than any hope of actually hurting the thing. By some miracle it connected, and the creature recoiled. It gave me just enough time to grab Frank and start dragging him away. He was heavy, dead weight in my arms, and I could feel something warm and wet soaking through his shirt. We stumbled through the woods, the creature's heavy footsteps pounding behind us. Branches whipped at our faces, roots seemed to reach up to trip us. Every second I expected to feel the creature's claws tearing into my back. Somehow, we made it back to the diner, slamming the door shut behind us. The fluorescent lights inside seemed painfully bright after the darkness of the woods. Frank was in bad shape. The creature had ripped into his side, and he was bleeding heavily. His face was pale, his eyes unfocused. I yelled for someone to call an ambulance, my voice sounding strange and distant in my own ears.
I grew up always on the bigger side as a kid. I was always slightly thicker.
I tried to keep Frank conscious while we waited, talking to him,
Hi, Vaughn.
pressing napkins against his wound to try and stem the bleeding. The minutes seemed to stretch on forever. When the paramedics finally arrived, they took one look at
We're just listening to some park ranger stories while I bead. Just chilling.
Frank and rushed him to the hospital. I stood, trying to make sense of what had happened. The diner was empty now, the usual crowd having cleared out at the commotion. I sat at the counter, nursing a cup of coffee that had long since gone cold, my mind racing. The police came, asked a lot of questions. I told them what I'd seen, but I could tell they didn't believe me. They wrote it off as a bear attack, said they'd look into it, but I knew they wouldn't find anything. That thing wasn't a bear, and it wasn't going to be found unless it wanted to be. As I sat there, watching the first light of dawn creep over the horizon, I couldn't shake the feeling that this was just the beginning. Something had changed in those woods, and nothing would ever be the same again. Days passed, and Frank's condition improved. He had a lot of stitches and a nasty scar, but he was alive. The doctor said he was lucky, that if the bear had hit an artery, he wouldn't have made it. I visited him in the hospital every day, watching as the color slowly returned to his face. He didn't remember much of the attack, just lashes of fur and teeth. We talked about it a lot, trying to make sense of it, but there were no answers. The police had found nothing in their cursory search of the woods. No tracks, no fur, nothing to suggest anything out of the ordinary had happened there. Life in Boone seemed to go on as usual. People still went about their daily routines, still hiked in the woods on weekends. But there was an undercurrent of unease, a tension in the air that hadn't been there before. I noticed more people carrying guns when they went into the forest, more parents keeping a closer eye on their kids. I couldn't shake the memory of what I'd seen. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw those glowing yellow eyes. heard that bone-shaking vibration. I started having nightmares, waking up in a cold sweat, my heart pounding. In my dreams, I was back in those woods. But this time, I was alone. The creature would be there, always just out of sight, always closing in. I tried to go back to work at the lumber mill, but I couldn't concentrate. Every sound made me jump. Every shadow seemed to hide a lurking threat. After a week, my boss told me to take some time off, get my head straight. I didn't argue. Instead, I spent my days researching, trying to find any information about what we might have encountered. I scoured the internet, read books on cryptozoology, even reached out to some local folklore experts. Most of what I found was useless, just myths and legends with no basis in reality. But there were a few stories, old tales from the Cherokee who had once lived in these mountains that caught my attention. They spoke of a creature they called the Nunyunui, or stone-clad. It was described as a solitary hunter, covered in hard scales or stone-like fur, with a taste for human flesh. The stories said it could mimic human voices to lure its prey, and that it was nearly impossible to kill. I didn't know if this was the same creature we'd encountered, but it was the closest thing I'd found to an explanation. I shared my findings with Frank when he was released from the hospital, but he just shook his head. "Rich," he said, his voice tired, "maybe we should just let this go. Whatever that thing was, it's gone now. We're lucky to be alive. Let's not push our luck." But I didn't let it go. The creature was still out there, I was sure of it. And as long as it was out there, no one in Boone was safe. A few weeks after our encounter, I was walking through town when I saw a poster for a missing person. A kid, maybe 16, had gone missing a couple of days before. I felt a chill run down my spine as I looked at the picture. The kid had last been seen near the same woods where we'd encountered the creature. I went to the police station immediately, told them about the connection to our bear attack. But they brushed me off, said it was probably unrelated. Teenagers run away all the time, they said. No need to jump to conclusions, but I knew better. That thing was still out there, and it was hunting. The realization settled over me like a heavy weight. I couldn't just sit back and do nothing. I had to do something, had to stop it before anyone else got hurt. I went to Frank's house that evening, found him sitting on his porch, staring out at the woods that bordered his property. He didn't seem surprised to see me. "You saw the missing person poster,"
Hi,
he said.
Vaughn.
It wasn't a question.
Hi, Cheryl.
Taking a seat next
Everything
to him.
right here is available.
"Something, Frank. That thing, whatever it is, it's not going to stop." Frank was quiet for a long moment, his face etched with worry. Finally, he sighed. "I know. I've been thinking of it too. But what can we do? The police don't believe us, and we barely made it out alive last time." "We prepare," I said, my voice firm. "We arm ourselves, we learn everything we can about those woods, and we hunt that thing down before it can hurt anyone else." Frank looked at me, his eyes searching my face. Then he nodded slowly. "All right," he said, "but we do this smart. No rushing in half-cocked this time." And so we began to plan. We gathered supplies, bought better weapons, studied maps of the area. We talked to local hunters, learning everything we could about tracking in those woods. All the while, I couldn't shake the feeling that we were running out of time, that somewhere out there in the darkness, the creature was waiting for its next victim. It took us a week to get everything. We told our friends and families we were going on a hunting trip, not actually a lie. Frank had recovered well enough to move without pain, though the scars on his side were a constant reminder of what we were up against. We headed into the woods early on a Saturday morning, the air crisp and cool. The forest was alive with the sounds of birds and small animals, a stark contrast to the eerie silence of that night weeks ago. But we weren't fooled. We knew the danger that lurked in these trees. Our packs were heavy with supplies, food, water, first aid kits, extra ammunition. We each carried a high-powered rifle with pistols as backups. Frank had even managed to get his hands on a few motion-activated cameras, which we planned to set up in key areas. We moved slowly, cautiously, our eyes constantly scanning the trees around us. Every snapping twig, every rustle of leaves, set our nerves on edge. But as the hours passed with no sign of the creature, I began to wonder if we were on a fool's errand. Maybe it's moved on, Frank said as we stopped to rest near a small stream. He took a long drink from his canteen, his eyes never stopping their.
This holiday, she's not settling for anything less than the triple treat box from
Their scan of our surroundings. I shook my head. No, it's here. I can feel it. And I could. There was a heaviness to the air, a sense of wrongness that seemed to permeate everything. It was subtle, easy to dismiss if you weren't looking for it. But once you noticed it, it was impossible to ignore. We pressed on, deeper into the woods than I'd ever been before. The trees grew older here, their trunks massive and gnarled. The canopy above was so thick that little sunlight penetrated, casting everything in a perpetual twilight. The air grew cooler, damper, filled with the musty scent of decaying leaves and moss. As the day wore on, we began to notice subtle signs that something wasn't right. Claw marks on trees, too high up and too deep to be from any normal animal. Patches of ground where nothing grew, the earth there, black and oily. And always that sense of being watched, of eyes following our every move. We set up camp as night began to fall, choosing a small clearing with good visibility in all directions. Frank got a small fire going, while I set up the motion-activated cameras in a perimeter around us. We ate a cold dinner, neither of us wanting to risk the smell of cooked food attracting unwanted attention. "What's the plan if we actually find this thing?" Frank asked as we sat by the fire, his voice low. I hadn't really thought that far ahead. "We kill it," I said simply. "We can't let it keep hurting people." Frank nodded, but I could see the doubt in his eyes. We both remembered how effective our weapons had been last time.
Stay in
What choice did
here.
we have? We took turns keeping watch that night, but nothing happened. The woods remained eerily silent, devoid of even the usual nighttime sounds of owls and insects. It was as if the whole forest was holding its breath, waiting. The next day was much the same. We hiked further into the wilderness, following the subtle signs we'd noticed. The sense of wrongness grew stronger, the air becoming thick and oppressive. By mid-afternoon, we were both on edge, jumping at every sound. And then we heard it. That low, vibrating sound that had haunted my nightmares for weeks. It was distant, but unmistakable. Frank and I shared a look, no words necessary. We moved towards the sound, our weapons ready. We crept through the underbrush, every sense on high alert. The vibration grew louder, seeming to come from everywhere and nowhere at once. And then, suddenly, it stopped. We froze, straining our ears for any sound. For a long moment, there was nothing but silence. Then, a twig snapped somewhere to our left. We spun towards the sound, rifles raised. And there it was, standing between two massive oak trees. The creature. It was just as I remembered. Maybe even larger. Its matted fur was a patchwork of dark colors, blending seamlessly with the shadows of the forest. Its two long arms hung at its sides, wickedly sharp claws gleaming in the dim light. But it was the face that held my attention. That twisted, malformed visage, with its glowing yellow eyes fixed directly on us. There was intelligence in those eyes, and a hunger that made my blood run cold. For a heartbeat, nobody moved. Then Frank fired, the sound of the rifle impossibly loud in the stillness of the forest. The creature moved with impossible speed.
We're listening to park ranger stories while I bead. I'm trying to get some inventory. How come you didn't come back right away?
Huh? I tried to text you
No, you
if I
didn't.
could stay a little longer. But I swear, time went so fast. We weren't even doing anything really active. Too. We were just chilling. And right when I looked, it was like 8:30.
Does he have a girlfriend, bro?
Yeah, he literally told me today. He's like, he said, because he planned it. He said, like 10 to 17 minutes before I came back. He said, yo, you trying to play today? You trying to hang out today? And I said, yeah. I said, yeah. I replied a little earlier, and he said, yeah, hold on. I'm calling my girlfriend right now.
Say, cheap
He
guy.
said, sorry, man.
Cheap guy.
But like he only did it for like I don't know. It's like he didn't need it for like 3 minutes. He said, "All right, I'm here." I was like, "God, all fast." Oh, you saw that?
Okay, we're listening to stories.
Can I, is it okay if I leave basketball?
Don't be too loud.
Side. The bullet hit the tree behind it, sending splinters flying, and then it was charging at us, covering the distance between us in seconds. I fired, the recoil of the rifle slamming into my shoulder. I saw the bullet hit, saw dark blood spurt from the creature's shoulder, but it didn't even slow down. "Run!" I yelled, already turning to flee. But Frank stood his ground, firing again and again. I heard him scream, a sound of pain and terror that cut through me like a knife. I spun back around, saw the creature on top of Frank, its claws tearing into him. Without thinking, I charged forward, swinging my rifle like a club. It connected with the creature's head with a sickened crunch. The thing reared back, letting out a screech that made my ears ring. It turned those glowing eyes on me, and I felt a wave of terror wash over me. This was it, I thought. This was how I was going to die. But then, something strange happened. The creature hesitated. It looked at me, then at Frank's prone form on the ground. Then, to my utter disbelief, it turned and ran, disappearing into the shadows of the forest in seconds. I stood there stunned, my heart pounding in my chest. Then I remembered Frank. I rushed to his side, dreading what I might find. He was alive, but barely. The creature's claws had opened deep gashes across his chest and arms. I did what I could to stop the bleeding, my hand shaking as I applied pressure to the wounds. All the while I kept expecting the creature to return, to finish what it had started. But it didn't come back. Somehow, I managed to get Frank back to our camp. I used our satellite phone to call for help, and a rescue helicopter arrived a few hours later. As they loaded Frank into the chopper, one of the paramedics asked me what had happened. "Bear attack," I said numbly. What else could I say? As the helicopter took off, leaving me alone in the clearing, I couldn't shake the memory of those final moments. Why had the creature run? It could have easily killed us both. What had it seen in me that made it hesitate? I didn't have any answers. But I knew one thing for certain. This wasn't over. Not by a long shot. The days following our encounter in the woods were a blur of hospital visits and police interviews. Frank was in critical condition, the doctors working around the clock to repair the damage done by the creature's claws. I spent most of my time in the waiting room, replaying the events in my mind, trying to make sense of what had happened. The police were skeptical of my story, of course. They attributed the attack to a bear, despite my insistence that it was something else. I could see the doubt in their eyes, the way they exchanged glances when they thought I wasn't looking. They probably thought I was in shock, or worse, that I had something to do with Frank's injuries. But I knew the truth, and I couldn't let it go. While Frank recovered in the hospital, I threw myself into research, determined to find out more about the creature we had encountered. I spent hours in the local library, poring over old books on local folklore and Native American legends.
Of
I
course.
reached out to cryptozoologists and paranormal investigators, anyone who might have some insight into what we were dealing with. Most of what I found was useless, just rehashed myths and secondhand accounts. But then, buried in an old journal in the library's archives, I found something that made my blood run cold. The journal belonged to a settler named Joseph Pritchard, who had lived in the area in the late 1800s. In it, he described encounters with a creature that sounded eerily similar to what Frank and I had seen. Pritchard wrote of a beast that walks like a man, covered in fur black as night, with eyes that glow like embers. He described the same bone-shaking vibration, the same impossible speed and strength. But it was what came next that really caught my attention. Pritchard wrote that he had managed to wound the creature during one of their encounters, and had followed its trail of blood. He described finding a cave deep in the woods, its walls covered in strange, swirling patterns that seemed to move when you looked at them directly. Inside the cave, Pritchard claimed to have found evidence that the creature was not alone. There were more of them, he wrote, sleeping in some kind of hibernation. He described pods of some sort, like...
Does your internet bill keep getting higher?
Like
That's
Cocoon.
because promo pricing is full of surprises. At Google Fiber, there's
cocoons made of stone.
Did
each
I just say
containing what he
cocoon?
believed to be one of the creatures. The final entry in the journal was hurried, the handwriting barely legible. Pritchard wrote that he was going back to the cave, this time with explosives. He planned to seal the entrance, trapping the creatures inside forever. The journal ended there. I sat back in my chair, my mind reeling. If Pritchard's account was true, it meant that the creature Frank and I had encountered wasn't some lone monster. It was part of a group, maybe even a whole species, that had been here for who knows how long. But something didn't add up. If Pritchard had really sealed the cave, how was this creature now free? And where were the others? I had a sinking feeling in my gut that I knew the answer. The logging operations in the area had been expanding rapidly in recent years, pushing deeper into previously undisturbed parts of the forest. What if they had unknowingly opened the sealed cave? I needed to find that cave, but I couldn't do it alone. Frank was still in no condition to help, and I didn't trust the local authorities to take this seriously. I needed someone who would believe me, someone with the skills and resources to help me track down this thing once and for all. I remembered a name I had come across in my research, a professor of anthropology at the nearby university, who specialized in local folklore and Native American history, Dr. Evelyn Rogers. Maybe she would be willing to listen, to help me make sense of what was happening. At the library, my mind buzzing with new information and theories, I couldn't shake the feeling that I was being watched. I glanced over my shoulder, half expecting to see glowing yellow eyes staring back at me from the shadows. But there was nothing there. Just the normal bustle of the small town going about its evening routine. Still, as I walked back to my apartment, I couldn't help but feel that something had changed. The hunt had taken on a new urgency. It wasn't just about protecting the town anymore. If what Pritchard had written was true, we were doing something far more dangerous than we had ever imagined. And somewhere out there in the darkness, I knew the creature was waiting, watching, planning its next move. The thought sent a shiver down my spine. Whatever happened next, I had a feeling it was going to change everything. The next morning, I made my way to the university campus, my mind still reeling from the revelations in Pritchard's journal. The anthropology department was housed in an old brick building, its ivy-covered walls giving it an air of academic prestige. I found Dr. Rogers' office easily enough, a cluttered space filled with books, artifacts, and maps covering every available surface. The professor herself was a small, wiry woman with sharp eyes and graying hair pulled back in a neat bun. She looked up as I entered, her gaze curious but guarded. "Dr. Rogers," I said, suddenly feeling unsure of myself. "I'm Richard Monroe. I was hoping I could talk to you about something unusual." She gestured for me to sit, her expression unreadable. "Mr. Monroe, what can I help you with?" I took a deep breath and began my story. I told her everything: the initial encounter in the woods, the attack on Frank, our ill-fated hunting expedition, and finally, what I had discovered in Pritchard's journal. As I spoke, I watched her face carefully, looking for any sign of disbelief or dismissal. But her expression remained neutral, her eyes sharp and focused. When I finished, she was quiet for a long moment. Then, to my surprise, she nodded slowly. "I've heard stories," she said, her voice low. "Legends passed down through generations of local families. Most people dismiss them as campfire tales, but—" She trailed off, her gaze distant. "You believe me?" I asked, hardly daring to hope. Dr. Rogers met my eyes. "I believe that there are things in this world that we don't understand, Mr. Monroe. Things that science hasn't yet explained. And I believe that you've encountered one of them." Relief washed over me. Finally, someone who didn't think I was crazy. "Will you help me?" I asked. "I need to find that cave, to understand what we're dealing with." She hesitated, then nodded. "I'll help you. But we need to be careful. If what you're saying is true, we're dealing with something incredibly dangerous." Over the next few days, Dr. Rogers and I pored over maps of the area, trying to pinpoint the location of Pritchard's cave, based on the descriptions in his journal. We cross-referenced his accounts with geological surveys and local legends, slowly narrowing down our search area. Meanwhile, Frank was recovering. He was still weak, but the doctors said he was out of danger. When I visited him in the hospital, I told him about Pritchard's journal and Dr. Rogers. He listened silently, his face grave. "Rich," he said when I had finished, "maybe we should let this go. We're in over our heads here." But I couldn't let it go. Not now, when we were so close to answers. "I have to see this through, Frank," I told him. "I have to know what we're dealing with." He sighed, then nodded. "I know, just be careful, all right? I've got a bad feeling about this." A week after my initial meeting with Dr. Rogers, we had our breakthrough. We identified an area deep in the forest that matched Pritchard's descriptions. It was in a part of the woods that had only recently been opened up by new logging roads, which fit with my theory about how the creature had been released. Dr. Rogers insisted on coming with me to investigate. "I'm not letting you go alone," she said firmly. "Besides, you'll need my expertise if we find anything of anthropological significance." I couldn't argue with that logic, even though the thought of putting her in danger made me uneasy. We prepared carefully, packing supplies for several days in the wilderness. I brought my rifle, despite Dr. Rogers' disapproval. I wasn't taking any chances this time. As we set out into the woods, I couldn't shake the feeling that we were walking into something bigger than either of us could imagine. The forest seemed to close in around us, the shadows deeper and more menacing than I remembered. Somewhere out there, the creature was waiting, and this time, I was determined to find answers, no matter the cost. The journey into the depths of the forest was grueling. We hiked for hours, the terrain growing steeper and more treacherous, as we ventured into areas untouched by human activity for decades, maybe even centuries. The trees here were ancient, their gnarled trunks wider than both of us could reach around, their canopies so dense that little sunlight penetrated to the forest floor. Dr. Rogers proved to be a surprisingly capable outdoors woman, keeping pace with me despite the difficult conditions. As we hiked, she shared more of what she knew about the local legend. Stories of creatures that lurked in the deepest parts of the woods, preying on unwary travelers. The Cherokee called this area the Dark Place, she told me as we paused to catch our breath. They believed it was a thin spot between our world and the spirit world, a place where dangerous entities could cross over. I nodded, thinking of the creature we'd encountered. "Sounds about right," I muttered. As we pressed on, that familiar sense of wrongness began to creep over me. The air grew thick and heavy, filled with an oppressive silence. No birds sang, no insects buzzed. It was as if all life had fled from this part of the forest. We made camp as night fell, neither of us wanting to risk stumbling around in the dark. As we sat by our small fire, I couldn't shake the feeling that we were being watched. Every shadow seemed to hide a lurking threat, every rustle of leaves a potential attack. "We're close," Dr. Rogers said softly, her eyes scanning darkness beyond our campfire. "I can feel it." I nodded, my hand resting on my rifle. "Yeah, me too." We took turns keeping watch that night, but nothing approached our camp. Still, I slept fitfully, my dreams filled with glowing yellow eyes and that bone-shaking vibration. The next morning, we packed up quickly and continued our search. As the day wore on, the signs became more obvious. We found claw marks on trees, deep gouges that no natural animal could have made. In one clearing, we discovered a patch of ground where nothing grew, the earth black and oily. And then, in the early afternoon, we found it. The cave entrance was half hidden behind it.
Let me show you how to block this ad. First, you're going to click on this video, then you're going to download it. It's an ad blocker that's
A curtain of vines. But once we cleared them away, there was no mistaking it. The opening was larger than I had expected, easily big enough for the creature to pass through comfortably. Dr. Rogers and I shared a look. This was it, the moment of truth. "We should wait," she said, her voice tight with tension. "Come back with more people, more equipment." But I shook my head. "No, we might not find it again. And every day we wait is another day that thing is out there, hurting people." She hesitated, then nodded reluctantly. "All right, but we be careful. At the first sign of danger, we leave. Agreed?" "Agreed," I said, though we both knew I had no intention of leaving until I had answers. We clicked on our flashlights and stepped into the cave. The air inside was cool and damp, with a musty odor that made my nose wrinkle. Our lights revealed a tunnel leading deeper into the earth, its walls smooth and unnaturally regular. As we moved deeper into the cave, I noticed strange patterns on the walls, swirling designs that seemed to shift and move when viewed from the corner of my eye, just like Pritchard had described in his journal. The tunnel opened up into a larger chamber, and we both gasped at the room was filled with what looked like large stone eggs covered in the same swirling patterns we had seen on the walls. My God, Dr. Rogers breathed, her eyes wide with a mixture of fear and scientific curiosity. What are they? I moved closer to one of the egg-like structures, my flashlight beam playing over its surface. Up close, I could see that it wasn't stone at all, but some kind of smooth metallic material that seemed to absorb the light. I think these are what Pritchard called cocoons, I said, my voice barely above a whisper. He said they contained more of those creatures. Dr. Rogers approached another of the cocoons, her hand reaching out as if to touch it. I grabbed her wrist, stopping her. We don't know what might happen, I warned. She said, looking slightly embarrassed. Of course, you're right. We began to explore the chamber, counting the cocoons. There were dozens of them, maybe even hundreds. The implications were staggering. If each of these contained one of those creatures, suddenly, a low vibration filled the air. We froze, our eyes meeting in shared panic. We knew that sound. We need to leave, I said urgently, already backing towards the tunnel entrance. Now, but it was too late. A dark shape appeared in the tunnel, blocking our escape. The creature was larger than I remembered, its matted fur seeming to absorb the light from our flashlights. Dr. Rogers let out a small gasp of fear. I pushed her behind me, raising my rifle. But I knew it would be useless against this thing. The creature didn't attack immediately. It stood there watching us with those intelligent eyes. And then, to my utter shock, it spoke. The sound was like nothing I had ever heard before, a series of clicks and growls that somehow formed words. You should not be here, it said, its voice grating and inhuman. Dr. Rogers and I stared at each other in disbelief. It could talk? What are you? I asked, my voice shaking despite my best efforts to stay calm. The creature tilted its head, regarding us with what almost looked like curiosity. We are the first, it said. We sleep, we wait, for time to come. The time for what? Dr. Rogers asked, her scientific curiosity apparently overcoming her fear. The creature's eyes seemed to glow brighter. For the change, it said, when your kind will no longer rule. A chill ran down my spine. I thought of all those cocoons, of how many of these creatures might be sleeping, waiting to wake up. Why are you killing people? I demanded, anger overriding my fear for a moment. The creature made a sound that might have been a laugh. We must feed, it said simply, to grow strong, for what comes. I raised my rifle again. No. The creature's eyes narrowed. You cannot stop it, it said. It has already begun. And then it charged. I fired, the sound of the rifle deafening in the enclosed space. The bullet hit, dark blood spraying from the creature's shoulder, but it didn't even slow down. I shoved Dr. Rogers towards the tunnel. Run, I yelled, firing again. We fled through the tunnel, the creature's roars echoing behind us. We burst out of the cave into the fading daylight, running blindly through the forest. I don't know how long we ran. It felt like hours. Finally, we collapsed in a small clearing, gasping for breath. I listened intently, but I couldn't hear any sign of pursuit. Did we lose it? Dr. Rogers panted. I nodded, still trying to catch my breath. I think so, for now. As the adrenaline faded, the full impact of what we had discovered hit me. These creatures, whatever they were planning something that threatened all of humanity. We need to tell someone, Dr. Rogers said, voicing my thoughts. The authorities, the military, someone who can. I nodded grimly. Yeah, but who's going to believe us? As night fell around us, we sat in silence, each lost in our own thoughts. We had found the answers we were looking for, but now I wished we hadn't. Because now we knew the truth, and the truth was far more terrifying than anything I could have imagined. The journey back to civilization was a blur of exhaustion and fear. Every snapping twig, every rustle of leaves, had us jumping. expecting to see glowing yellow eyes emerging from the darkness. But somehow, we made it back to Boone without incident. Our first stop was the police station. I had hoped that with Dr. Rogers backing up my story, they might finally take us seriously. But as we recounted our experience in the cave, I could see the skepticism in their eyes. They listened politely, but I could tell they didn't believe a word of it. "We'll look into it," the sheriff said, in a tone that made it clear he had no intention of doing any such thing. "In the meantime, I'd advise you both to stay out of those woods out there." We left the station feeling defeated. "Now what?" Dr. Rogers asked as we stood on the sidewalk outside. I ran a hand through my hair, frustration and fear warring inside me. "I don't know," I admitted, "but we can't just do nothing. Those things, whatever they are, they're planning something big. We have to stop them." Dr. Rogers nodded, her face set with determination. "I have some contacts in the anthropology world," she said. "People who specialize in cryptozoology and folklore. Maybe they can help us make sense of what we saw." It wasn't much, but it was a start. We agreed to meet the next day to plan our next move. That night, as I lay in bed trying to sleep, I couldn't shake the memory of the creature's words. "It has already begun," it had said. What did that mean? And how many more of those things were out there waiting to wake up? The next few weeks were a whirl.
Steve Torrey here, host of the Sunday Drive on SiriusXM's NFL Radio. Celebrate every touchdown from every
Whirlwind of research and planning. Dr. Rogers reached out to her contact, sharing our story with anyone who would help. We pored over old legends, geological surveys, anything that might give us more information about the creatures and their origins. We tried to track reports of missing persons and unusual animal attacks across the country, look for patterns that might indicate more of these creatures were active. All the while, I couldn't shake the feeling that we were running out of time. Every night I had nightmares of yellow eyes and that bone-shaking vibration. Every day, I expected to hear news of another attack, another missing person. Frank was released from the hospital, and I filled him in on everything we had learned. He listened in silence, his face growing more grave with each passing minute. "Jesus, Rich," he said when I had finished. "This is big. Too big for us to handle on our own?" I nodded. "I know, but who else is going to do something about it? The police don't believe us, and we don't have any hard evidence to take to the authorities." Frank was quiet for a moment. "I'm in. Whatever you need, I'm there." With Frank on board, we began to formulate a plan.
Okay, this is a long ass story. I'm gonna go lay down and scroll for a little bit. I just wanted to get those heart ones out of the way. I still gotta do these round circle ones. And then once I'm done with these, I'll start up on another set. But thanks for hanging out with me. I don't do much. I don't have a whole lot to talk about. But I think when you guys are willing to listen to stories like these with me, it's pretty cool. I don't know how the ending goes, but it's a long story. That's crazy though how they said we're waiting. We're the first one. What did he say? We're the first ones. We're waiting for you guys to get out of the way, basically. It's I have some theories on that. But anyway, I'm gonna go lay down and scroll. Oh no, I should go take those to the post office. What time is it? 9:27. I should go take those to the post office before I get super lazy. I think I will. Yeah, I'll do that. Juice is taking over my computer, and I gotta charge my little
Power on.
speaker again. You guys have a good day. I will, like I said, I'll be posting the earrings from now on Instagram and Facebook. So if you guys are interested in anything you saw, it will be there. I will probably do it right now, actually, before I get super lazy. You guys have a good night. Thanks for hanging out. Thank you guys for your orders. Tomorrow is Tuesday. I might be able to get out a video tomorrow. We'll see you guys later.